Hang on. That was a bit quick. The voice. Hello, everybody. I'm Wayne. I'm the red shirt captain or the CO of the USS Southern Cross. We are going to do. Oh, let me start that again, and I will basically hand over to my security chief.
Yeah, you're not going to give me a second?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I just realised you were here. Sorry.
Bad luck.
Yep. Well, luckily it's no look. It's just audio, so no one can see the look you're giving me.
You can't see the look I'm giving you.
I know. So you have to introduce yourself now.
Oh, start from the beginning.
No, this is going to be. This is it.
This isn't it. Okay, I'm your very unprepared chief security security officer. My name's Annabelle. I have a lot to say. So
chief of security. That would be better.
Chief of security.
Yes.
We need an official title.
Oh, yeah, that is the official title.
Oh, that is.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay. For anyone who's just sort of decided to click on this and got this,
for the people that are still here after that,
yeah, the people that are still here, we get together online and meetings, and we talk about episodes. And what we thought we'd do is make this sound like, or do this as one of our kind of meetups. And I've been able to wrangle Annabelle into doing this with me, so it is completely unscripted, and we make it up as we go along, just as like when we do actually chats at a meeting. So it's going to turn into absolute chaos.
Well, we'll try to be succinct, but you know.
I won't. Annabelle,
Oh,
mate,
you
what
were.
I'm going to be.
Oh, okay.
So what do we? We've spent like 2.5 minutes doing nothing. So what are we actually talking about? We're going to talk about DS9 episode The Reckoning. So this was season 6. This is starting to get towards the end, and there's a lot I have about the end of DS9. Season 6, episode 21. Now, seeing I picked it, I'm going to throw Annabelle under the shuttle and basically get her to start. So give us your viewpoints.
Are we going to go through what happens in the episode?
Oh, you can do that if you like. I did that on the last one, I think.
Oh, okay. So, in this episode, which I like to colloquially call the beginning of the end, because it really is.
Gee, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah. Also known as the one where God and Satan fight while Jesus watches. It's very funny.
I'm not even certain where that was going.
That's what we're going to talk about. This episode's called The Reckoning. It is an episode which is very intense because we're set in the beginning of the Dominion War, but this episode is nothing about the Dominion War, which is very strange when you watch it sequentially.
I've got theories about that, and we'll might.
Okay. We'll hear that later. For now,
yeah, we might get to talk about that later. But I have big theories about that.
Keep it there. But in this episode, Sisko finds another stone tablet. This is the second time he's done this, and the stone tablet tells him he has to do something. The prophets are trying to tell him he's got to do something. And when he accidentally smashes this tablet,
it was no accident.
God comes. Well, yeah. When he deliberately smashes this tablet, God comes out of the tablet, or Satan, both of them come out of the tablet. They possess the bodies of Sisko's first officer, Kira Nerys, and his son, Jake Sisko, and they battle it out on the promenade of Deep Space Nine.
So, hang on. Let's just clear this problem, because we're going into a very dark realm here. What Annabelle is trying to say is one creature comes out, which is the prophets. I'll get my word out. The other one are the Par-Wraith, but it's actually not the Par-Wraith. It's the Costa Mocha.
It's Costa Mojan. Yeah, he's a very specific Par-Wraith.
Yeah, he's the one that I think started the whole problem between the Par-Wraith and the prophets.
Yeah, he's basically like Lucifer He's the Lucifer of this realm. He
Um,
fell from heaven to become a power wraith, and now he has his vengeance.
yeah, and I think they trapped both a power wraith and a prophet in the stone
To
for
enact
yeah.
this.
'Cause
Yes.
you
To
have to,
enact the reckoning.
anyone who hasn't watched DS9, and I can't forgive anybody who hasn't watched DS9. It's a great series.
Everyone go and watch it. It's the best Star Trek, in my humble opinion.
You have to understand that the prophets and the power wraith have no concept of time. For them,
Mhm.
the past, present, and future all exist at one
At
moment
the same
at the
time.
same time. So, for them, for us, the power wraith and the prophets have been in this stone for something like 30,000 years. But for
A
them,
very, very long time.
it could have been nothing. So it this gets a bit complicated when they do this, but it has a reason through the series why they made this, because it's a lot easier to keep crossing back and forth between different parts and not having to say, well, this was back then and this was in the future. It's to these individuals who live in the celestial temple or the wormhole, depending on which side of science you want to be on. They have no perception of time. They don't know.
See, I have some feelings about this because I don't think the writers understood how deterministic nonlinear time even works. And so when I watch these episodes, it just feels so blatantly clear that the writers did not understand how to write something nonlinear.
Well, I'm
And
just
so they
looking it
are
up on the
incredibly
dictionary now,
linear.
what you just said, because I haven't got a clue.
Oh, so there's a philosophical idea called determinism, which basically is that every single thing in the universe could be predicted because we know the physical states of it. Like if you drop a ball, if you know the exact like angle it's falling at and how fast like it was dropped at or whatever the hell, you can figure out exactly where it's going to land up. You know what the future will be based on what the current senses are.
Doesn't that break the theory where, because they say in is it Hawkins or Einstein? Now we've wandered into a science show. I don't know how we've done that.
Well, we just got to keep going. This is still science fiction.
Don't they basically say you can't predict the future because you can't figure out where all parts of atoms at the quantum level are going to be at any
Yeah, well, we can't right now, but the point is that if you could, deterministic people would say, if you could, then literally everything in the world has already happened and can be predicted, because human beings are just a bundle of atoms. Our physical nature, the way synapses are going in our brains, have already been enacted. And so that's what a deterministic person might say. Of course, we hate this and it's terrible, and it's been very deeply like pushed back against in philosophical and scientific communities because it makes us very uncomfortable to think that our own personal lives are not our control.
I think
but
like
when
that
we're talking about,
I think like that all the time. I mean, I know I'm being controlled by somebody.
And who would that be?
I'm not going there because it's going to get me in trouble.
Yes, I know it is. I'm going to get mad at you.
I'm not saying you.
No, I know. I'm just, I will stand up, Wayne.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Right, so let's get out of the.
I'm going to keep going real quick. No, I got to tell you about a book by Ted Chiang.
Oh, here we go.
There's a book by Ted Chiang, and he wrote a series of short stories. And in one of these short stories called Story of Your Life, a woman starts to experience time non-linearly. It's beautiful. It's such a gorgeous story. And she talks about enacting chronology, which means that she knows everything that's going to happen. She's seen everything that's going to happen. She's experiencing it simultaneously, and yet she chooses to partake in it, like partaking in a play that you already know. And the way that time is discussed in this is really cool and interesting. And I wish that they did that kind of thing in Deep Space Nine, instead of it being like, ooh, even though the prophets and the power wraiths can see everything all the time, everywhere, somehow this happened, but they didn't know about it. And like the prophet is angry about it, even though the prophet should have already known that this is what was going to happen. And like, it just, it loses a bit of its.
For anyone who is listening, Annabelle does have a lot of, how do I say this nicely?
Words in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you've got yeah, but opinions. That was what I was
A
looking for.
hyperactive brain. Yeah, that's what I've got.
You've got a lot of opinions.
Well, yes, I watch
That's
Star Trek. I don't know what
and
else you're supposed to.
I think that's part of Star Trek's. As somebody told me once, it's part of Star Trek's curse. Is whenever you watch a lot of Star Trek, and you've got to watch nearly all of it to get here. But once
Yeah,
you get there, you become very opinionated.
you do. You know too much, and your
Yeah,
brain is just telling you all the things that you know all the time.
every Star Trek fan I've ever come in contact with is like this. But that's why you can't get a group of us together, because we just know everything.
It's
Or
crazy. It's
we think we
terrible.
do anyway.
Well, the quiz at the Christmas party, I feel like that was
Yeah, well, there was a lot more going on at the Christmas
that
party.
was very mean.
We just, for anyone who doesn't know, we just had the club's Christmas party on last weekend, and it was a good day. But we had a trivia. We
And
had a
Wayne decided to make the questions extra difficult this
Well, I
year.
got told off the last time I made the trivia questions that they were too easy, so I made them harder. And our chief of security didn't do so well.
Hey, I got 16 out of 22. That was okay.
Yeah, but I think you were
I
looking.
came second place,
I
okay?
think you're looking on your mum's page, wasn't you?
Hey, no, she knows less than I do.
Oh, gee, that one's gonna hurt.
No, no.
Okay, so we're back to the reckoning because we've completely
Sorry.
gone off. I
Yeah,
don't
we're
know where
staying on
we are.
track this time.
I
Let's
think
take a sippy.
I think Q's got involved here somewhere.
Yeah, I think he's in my brain. It's not a good idea.
Look, I I have this opinion, and in a reckoning, I think it proves for me my thoughts is that DS9, and we will talk about the reckoning in a minute, but there's a relevance in DS9. They had it. If you ever get to watch the DS9 documentary, by all means watch it, because it's a great
Oh my God, I haven't watched it yet, but I need to.
it
I've
is a
seen so
great
many clips from it. It looks
documentary.
fantastic.
They actually say they'd already made the decision to put a story arc through the entire series from the very first episode.
Yeah.
And most people think it's Odo and the Dominion War. I believe, and I know I'm going to get told off for this, but I believe the main story arc is really about the prophets, the Parath, Bajor, Cisco, Kira, and Jake. Jake is involved. Gul Dukat and Kai Wynn, and that's it. That's DS9. All the other stuff that goes through it is just to fill out the episodes and fill out the seasons, and it's a backstory. The main
I'm gonna disagree with you
see, if you look the reckoning basically allowed us to see that there has been a battle of some type. So this kind of makes the situation with this idea that the prophets have no concept of time or of anything other than, you know, their very first episode, The Emissary, they call Cisco adversarial, and
Yeah, but shouldn't they already know who's the Cisco? This is what I mean.
yeah, but the problem I have that by them wanting to fight the Parath, they're adversarial too.
I know.
So and this gets shown throughout the series, but it gets shown a lot more in the Reckoning. The Reckoning, you actually finally get to see, I think, what the whole of DS9 is all about. It is about stopping the Parath from being freed from the fire caves. That's the whole series. That's what it's all about.
I'm disagreeing with you because may I? Unless you've got more to say.
This will be good.
Okay, no. I don't want to talk over the top of it.
No. That's a fine.
Only I think you make a very good point about there's an interesting through line between all of DS9 that it always relates back to the Bajoran religion, how the prophets are seen, what the prophets are doing. They're always there in the background. But the reason I disagree is because there's a lot of inconsistent writing that happens very much in regards to the prophets. And so if it was a through line through the beginning, I feel like that wouldn't have happened because the Paros and the Fire Caves weren't introduced until I spent like the half an hour before we were doing this going through every single episode, but they're completely ignored for the first 2 seasons. And the way that the prophets treat Cisco is nothing like how they treat him in the last ones. And I feel like all those last bits, especially in the Reckoning, when we get to the end of the 5th season, the 6th season, and the 7th, they suddenly flipped around and realized that they needed to do some sort of story ending that still fitted with everything else. And so they still did their Dominion storyline, but they did this other through line as well. And so they created these Par race that was some kind of evil that had to be overtaken. And all these things came up which hadn't come up before. And it's just, it all feels very weird to me because the way that the prophets act in the first episode is so radically different to the way they act in the last ones. Or we learn the whole thing about Cisco already being a prophet. And I'm like, I don't understand what the point was. if the Nagus can freaking go in and talk to the prophets, why is suddenly the only reason that Cisco can go in because
that was a filler.
Part prophet. Like
episode.
it was. It's still part of the series.
No,
I'm like,
yeah, I
come
know.
on, guys.
If you go back through all of Star Trek, and I mean, probably not so much in TSO because, we're
TSO.
The original series.
Oh, TOS. Yeah.
I mean TOS. Sorry,
might be.
I'm dyslexic sometimes.
I'm getting passionate. No, keep talking. Tell me about your
look, the green button. Don't touch that. It's the red one. Oh, okay. Well, if you go back through all of them except for the original, they throw in these fillers in every single version of Star Trek. They throw in filler episodes to push out. Because
filler episodes are still canon. The point of a good filler is that you learn more about the world and the characters without plot being involved. No. And so they should always follow the laws of canon. I don't see. I think the fillers in Star Trek are just simply that. They're there to push out to a. Okay, I'm going to tell you about this. In anime and manga, filler episodes were a thing that they had to do because the manga was not caught up to the anime, and so they would make filler episodes. These filler episodes always had to follow certain rules that still fit in with the canon. And the reason we think Star Trek is filler episodes is because of the way that we now treat modern media. But in TOS and there's all these original series that were made in the 90s and the 80s and the 90s, use those filler episodes, but they were never filler episodes. They're just episodes that have different kinds of, because these episodes were never made with a whole through plot. DS9 is great because it does try to keep a through plot, but every single episode is important because that's how these types of television shows worked. We just have. So you're telling me that stories. Even though it's one of my favorite, the Magnificent Ferengi is an important part to. Yeah, I'm telling you. It is. It's 100% it is. Sorry, it's about the Ferengi. It's about the world that we live in. It's about doing more world building to do with it. As a writer, you have to include those small, quiet bits, especially in something like Star Trek, where you've got so many. See, I see the fillers are there just to push out to 24 episodes. That's all because they've got an obligation. But they aren't always 24 episodes. Sometimes they're 26. Sometimes they're 28. If they were just a filler, then that's. I disagree. When they get renewed for a new season, they get told how many episodes they've got to have. Now, if they were to do the entire thing the way it's supposed to be run, you would have probably lost the 7th season because they could have told everything in less than 6 seasons. Yeah, but then it's not a fun show because you miss out on all the world building because there's no episode where I'm still trying to figure out where the world building is in Magnificent Ferengi. Which one exactly is that? There's a lot of Ferengi episodes. That's the one where they do the Magnificent Seven, but Ferengi style. Oh yeah, 100%. You learn more about the Dominion. You learn more about Deep Space Nine and the other one. You learn how Ferengi communities work. It's also hilarious. You get to see some actors flex on you in their Ferengi ears and their makeup. Watching Iggy Pop for 45 minutes? No, I'm sorry. Yes, great. It's wonderful. I will draw the line at saying that the Magnificent Ferengi helped us understand. Okay, you need to go watch some videos on world building. Okay, go read an article or two. I'm not even certain what that is. What is world building? What do you mean? What is world building? I'm sorry, but
What is
creating a piece of media that feels lived in and like it actually exists instead of like a stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not really being sold on it yet, but you know.
I know more than you.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just to annoy the crap out of you. I mean, I'm just here to help. I
No,
mean,
I know you love annoying the crap out of me. No, it's good we disagree, but tell me your reasoning since I'm giving such my wholehearted reason.
there are episodes that are completely out of character to everything, and you don't.
Don't you think that's the point? Don't you think that's the point?
I think you're being a little bit too philosophical here now.
I'm a philosophical person. What can I say?
Okay, but look, in in Voyager and in Next Generation,
Every single one of those episodes are what you would call a filler episode. That's the thing. There's no through line plot, maybe for 2 episodes, but every
eh,
single episode is a filler. It's just that in Deep Space Nine, we've been spoiled because now we actually have a through line plot with some interesting backstory instead of just we're out in the stars or we're 2,000 miles from home.
you do know that actually DS9 is not the most popular version of Star Trek. It is
I
actually.
do. I'm aware that lots of people don't like
No,
Deep
they
Space
don't
Nine,
like
which
it.
boggles me, but
But yeah, they don't like it.
they
I
don't like it.
I know everybody's going, I thought we were talking about the reckoning. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, sorry, we're gonna have a little argument first. It's just the
No,
way
no, no. We're gonna have many arguments, but still.
we're gonna have a
Um
discussion, a hearty discussion.
oh, is that what we're gonna okay.
Yes.
Oh, Struth. I I find that Win is the culmination of all that is evil in DS9.
Mm.
Because
No, I agree with this point.
without Win, and this is why I think they had to get rid of Opaka, because Opaka would never have allowed any of this to be able to happen.
That and also it was a critical turning point for Kira's character. Yeah.
Yes, that's the other thing. You needed to have Opaka gone because Kira saw Opaka as a
Full unwavering faith. She needed some questionability in her faith, and by Opaka
and
being
Win
gone,
gave it.
you now have
They
someone like
needed,
Win.
and
Yeah.
I think, and I cannot think of the lady's name who played Kai Wynn, and it's annoying
Oh,
me.
she played so many scary people. She's so good at it.
She played Wynn. I think she has to be applauded for playing Wynn because
Louise Fletcher.
that's it. I knew it was.
I think she passed away recently too, didn't she?
I think she did. I knew it was. It had an F in it somewhere, and I just couldn't remember where. But she played Wynn perfectly because you did despise her, but you despised her on so many different levels.
I know. I think it was such a great.
You just didn't hate her.
It's a great thing because I think it's also you can
And
get
I
mad at me
think
for this
in
one.
Reckoning, you actually get to see that she isn't at the very last part of Reckoning when Kira has a go at her for being, saying that
Upset that at Cisco and being all like
Cisco
you were
and
scared because his faith was better than your faith. Like
her face said it all. Her facial expression said everything about her character.
she's such a this episode especially because I think this episode really illustrates that Kai Wynn is not someone who is faithful, which is an interesting thing because we see characters like Kira who genuinely go through this whole disturbing destruction of faith things in many episodes, and she has to come to terms with the nature of her faith and what it means and how she understands it in the context of organized religion. But Kai Wynn is someone who wants power and has internal, what's the word?
She wants
anxieties. She's got internal anxieties which manifest in her coercing of others to have power. But the way that it's presented is so nuanced. I love it so much. It's just like it's a critique of leaders in organized religions. It's a critique of power. It's this personal thing. She's such a wonderful character to have.
I like it in this one because you get to see when she's supposed to be. She is. Sorry, not supposed to be. She is the absolute leader of the Bajoran faith, right?
Yeah,
And
she's like the
yet,
president.
well,
She's
technically,
ultra pope.
yeah, she has never had any visions by the prophets. Never, ever. She admits that.
No.
She admits it multiple times in the Reckoning, but she has admitted it before. But in the,
Yeah.
in the Reckoning, it's like I kind of watched it a couple of weeks ago, and it's like she's shoving it down your throat. And I'm thinking, this is getting it. I watched it again this morning before we did this, and I'm thinking, hang on, there's a reason why they're doing this. That she's beyond annoyed that she hasn't had this ability. She's given her
100%.
life.
And as well, when she has that conversation with Cisco where she's all like, well, the prophets don't speak to me, so I wouldn't know. It feels like she's accusing Cisco of lying about the prophets
Yes,
in order to
she
get his
is.
own gain. Because, yeah, but Cisco's being genuine here. But because to her it would seem so simple to lie about something like that in order to get more power, she assumes that that's what Cisco is doing as well.
Yes. And
Even
then
though
she has
that's
the
not what's going
audacity
on.
to go against the prophet. So here's the emissary
I know.
who's had a vision, who's been told by the prophets to do this. And she says, I've never had it, but I know what's better, what's best, even better than the prophets do. And I'm thinking, hang on, now you're raising yourself up above the prophets, which allows her in the 7th season to do what she does.
This is what I mean. This is why I like calling this the beginning of the end, because this is the first episode where you see her go against the prophets. And I feel like the par race look at that and go, oh, this one, we could coerce this one. We could take this one and like hurt the prophets even more. And so the whole bit at the very ending of Deep Space Nine gets seen.
I think now I see a point on what you said. In the Reckoning, because the prophets not only have picked Cisco, but picked Kira and picked Jake. And all three of them have got, and you see the scene in sickbay when Jake said, I felt the
hatred.
And I understand why it had to be destroyed. And I get that. And then she is completely left out of it. Like,
yeah.
And I can see probably at that point her disdain, and probably disdain is not the strongest enough word, but her disdain for the prophets have now become apparent. And she probably doesn't fully know it yet either. It festers like any wound. She's given her life, she's got nothing in return. But then again, that's what faith is.
Faith is, yeah.
She wants something tangible in return, and she's never going to get it. So she
instead believes this vision she has from the par race and then gets coerced into doing terrible things because she wishes so hard to have some kind of connection that she's never had, despite being the spiritual leader of all of Bajor.
Yep. And as Kira said, a non-believer and a non-Bajoran to be marked as emissary. And then you've had the Nagus and Quark that have even had visions. She can't even get that close to anybody, any of her religious beliefs, but everyone else seems to get them at willy-nilly. That would have to tick you off at some point.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's where a lot of her, insecurities come from, because she thinks she's supposed to be important, but nothing is like showing her that she's important.
And remember, she's power hungry. That's what it's
all about. Oh yeah.
And that's festering.
What season is it where she works together with the Prime Minister? Is that the last?
Oh, that's in
the evil Prime Minister who makes them buy stuff from the Cardassians in order to do more terrorist attacks.
That's in the first season.
Yeah, with the Circle.
Yeah,
she is like, she's plotting with this guy who's part of the Circle, and you're like, oh, you're not just you're extra power hungry. Yeah,
I still believe she had her belief, her faith then, but I think in the Reckoning, by her intervening in the battle between the Parath and the prophets, she made a conscious decision. I think that was her turning point.
You get to see her lack of faith in the Reckoning. Yes.
And there was no going back from that. She made a conscious decision, And if she hadn't, if there was no way to go back from that point, I think, to basically say, I believe, because she'd proven that she didn't believe.
Exactly.
So her anger, her malice towards the prophets and towards Kira and towards Cisco and towards the Bajoran people, that all started to fester. So when, and I know where, if anyone hasn't watched DS9, and again,
they're incredibly spoiled.
The spoiler, where Gul Dukat has such ease to manipulate her to do what he wants, because she wants to. It's the old
she's unloved. She wants power.
you can't manipulate.
Then Dukat comes along and goes, I'm going to finally give you everything you wanted. Someone who cares about you, visions from the prophet, like this whole reason for being. I'm going to give it all to you. And she doesn't realize until the very last moment that she's being coerced.
You can't manipulate somebody unless at some level they want to be manipulated. She wanted to be manipulated. I mean, you don't get the book of Costa Motion. I can't say that word. I'm sorry.
Costa Motion.
Yeah, you don't get that book out and start looking at it if you're not planning on doing bad things.
Yes.
The thing I noticed for me mainly in Reckoning is that you really see. I know you see it earlier, but I think you see it more here because of the fact that Jake gets involved. You see Cisco finally giving himself literally
this is the turning point for Cisco. Truly, I think this is the turning point for Cisco. And like, I have a sneaking suspicion that Jake would have died, because after all that happens, we see Jake in the bed and he's much more hurt than Kira. They're all like, Kira immediately got out of the thing, and he's in there 2 days later. And I'm like, he would have lost. And I have the sneaking suspicion that Jake would have died because he was already halfway to dying.
I see when you saw them battling, you could see Jake's face. It was crinkled up and all that. When you see him in the bed, it's gone. I honestly don't think he would have died. I think if Kira had been, or the possessed Kira had been able to overtake the Costa bloke. I'm going to call him that because I can't get the other name right.
Australianism.
If you hadn't have been able to, if she'd been able to overtake the Costa and engulf him in her blue light, I reckon she would have been able to pull the Costa out and kept Jake. I don't honestly believe they would have killed Jake. They wouldn't have allowed it to happen.
Okay, but 2 points to make. One, the prophets don't care.
Well, I thought you won 2 points. When did you win 2 points?
My second point is that then why could Kira just walk away from that interaction while Jake had to stay in a hospital bed being treated for multiple days?
Because the blue light hadn't engulfed him yet.
So he's going to be in incredible pain and then suddenly not be in incredible pain? Like, his body was clearly under a lot of stress.
Well, so was Kira's. She was bleeding.
Kira's could walk away fine.
Yeah, but she was still bleeding from the nose and I think the eyes as well.
Yeah.
So I think because you've got to look, it's how you're interpreting it, and this is how this is the one thing I love about Star Trek, because you can interpret from a different point of view, and this is why it's so good to be able to talk to other Star Trek fans, because you can get so many different interpretations of the one kind of episode. But my interpretation was, or is, the Paraith are captured in the fire cave, so they can't really do a lot. All right. The prophets are in the Celestial Temple, so I'm gathering whoever's in the Celestial Temple has more power, is more powerful than the other one. That's why they're both fighting over the Celestial Temple. I believe that Kira, whatever prophet she had in her, was more powerful. You could see towards the end of the battle, Kira's blue light was almost on top of Jake.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She was winning. She would have won. Jake would have died, but there would have been a huge amount of prophecy.
So I think the prophets are stronger as a collective. And this comes down to, I think this is where, and I'm going to get into trouble for this. I can see it coming.
So
But
just say it.
this is where I think Stargate got their idea of the ancients and the.
I haven't seen
Well, it's a very similar thing
it.
that they have.
I don't know anything about Stargate.
With
It's
the
on the
power
list.
wraith and the prophets. You have the ancients who have ascended to another level, and then you have the Ori, who kind of are energy beings, which very similar to the prophets. And you have a good and a bad, and they're both trying to take over everything, and they're both trying to take over the eternal existence of above. And I think it's a very similar kind of thing. And I think in Star Trek, you're only fighting Costa Mocha at the moment, because the other power wraiths are hidden away. I know there are other power wraiths that get freed later on in the series, but at the moment and you saw him take off really quickly. And if you looked at the one that got out of Kira, for me, and I could have misinterpreted, but that one seemed to take off a lot slower. So I think Costa guy was more injured, it was actually hurt more than the other one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, my understanding, see, this is where it comes back to where I believe if they were serious, really serious, that the Dominion War was the main arc in the story, then they would have defeated the power wraith there and then.
Right, I see.
But they didn't.
But they needed to finish the story somehow. So
But yeah, this is what I mean. So this for me, it reinforces the idea that the power wraith and the celestial temple and the prophets, they were the actual main story, and everything else just was chugging along just to fill in.
Yeah, well, I can see what you're saying.
That's how I see it. Because I mean, I've watched DS9 a lot of times, and when I saw the episode where Kaya Parker left, it kind of made me start thinking, hang on, this is the beginning of the whole story arc from here, because Kai Wynn comes into power. Benjamin starts to become more of a emissary. He has issues with this emissary situation. And everything else is basically just background noise. And I know there will be people who say that can't be. And I get that, but that's how I see DS9 now.
No, I think it's an interesting perspective. See, I always just like to take TV shows as products of their time and their writers and the interesting stories they were trying to tell. And so all of it is important to me. Every single episode is always important to me. I'm never really worrying about what the through line was or what the plot was supposed to be, because it's about, how was it enacted? How was it filmed? What was interesting about it? What were they trying to do while they wrote? And a lot of Star Trek is it's philosophy in space. It's not really like a sci-fi show specific. I mean, it is, but it's not like Star Wars or anything else. It's philosophy in space. It's interesting thoughts and questions to do with.
It's always got a message in there. So I mean, The Reckoning has a message in there too about faith.
Yeah, I mean, lots of Deep Space Nine does, which is it's so interesting. It's why I like Deep Space Nine so much, because they do tackle complex real life issues with sci-fi elements to them.
I think they got away with it because they brought the war concept in, because they made it darker by doing that.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
So you could now, once they did the first season of the Dominion War, or I think the season before, that you could see there was a war coming, right? I mean, it was pretty obvious that there was a war coming. But once they then got renewed for the next season, and then they started the war, I think they kind of learnt that they could get the episodes a bit darker than normal Star Trek.
Well, here's the thing. I kind of disagree, because in the first series, we get the Wire episode, which is literally about drug addiction to do with Garak. And it's it's one of, I think, the darker episodes of all of Deep Space Nine.
Is that the one where they go to the other Tarak North, or
No, this is the one where Garak has an implant that was put into his head to give him
Oh,
pleasurous
right.
experiences when he's
Sorry.
experiencing torture, and he turns it on 24/7 because Deep Space Nine is so overstimulating and
Yep.
humiliating. And it starts to kill him, and Julian has to take him off it and then replicate something that's never been replicated before, and we
Yeah,
get
yeah.
him going back to Cardassia. That I think that's like a really dark episode. It's like there are four lights from Next Generation. It gets so like, and that's really early into the series. I think Deep Space Nine sort of always set out to make a darker Star Trek
Oh no,
because it was coming off the end of.
I'm not disagreeing with you for one bit. DS9 from its I think the first couple of episodes were to kind of ease everybody into the idea.
But even that first episode, it's like here's Cisco tragically losing his
Yes.
wife to the Borg, and
No,
you're
it
like,
was,
okay, I
it
guess
was,
this is where we're
but
starting.
it wasn't as dark as some of the other episodes that came out.
No,
It was still dark, but it wasn't as dark as, say, The Wire, for instance, or some of the others that came out. Or,
yeah,
I mean, some of the darker ones where
Nog loses his arm and now has to talk about PTSD. Like,
it lost his leg, didn't he?
oh, legs. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he lost his leg more than his arm. Um, I mean, you got dark when you saw when they started talking about the war.
yeah,
I mean, Siege at AR, I think it's 5 5 2 4. I can't remember the number, but you see what they tried to, in a science fiction and a Star Trek way, they tried to talk about how soldiers deal with combat,
yeah,
and that's a very, I'm not sure, it's a dark topic, and it's a very touchy topic of how individuals deal with that kind of stuff. And Star Trek has never shied away from getting
Well, it's shied away a lot, but it's doing its best.
it's well
It
in that
shies away a
period,
whole lot. I'm just
in
like,
that period of Star Trek, they never shied away from getting their knee deep into darkness if they had to.
well,
And look,
they were still making it, so they could still air it. I mean, they were
yes,
still
I
shying
mean,
away from a lot of things, but
it was a kind of a very dark shade of grey. I don't think you could do. There was and I cannot remember where. I think I saw it on YouTube. I haven't been able to find it, but there was an interview with one of the writers, and they said there was some actually very dark episodes that they wanted to do during the war episodes of DS9, but they ran it by a few people, and they said these are way too dark to get involved in. You're not going to be able to do them.
yeah.
So they had ideas to do darker ones, but obviously there's a line that you can't cross for Star Trek.
Yeah, and I'm, I'm simultaneously glad they didn't do those episodes, and also a little bit pissed because I would have liked to see them. But
Yeah,
I'm glad because I have a lack of trust when it comes to Star Trek because most of the good things that they do ends up being done by accident, and so when there are really like interesting stuff,
yeah,
they're
all
not
right.
always.
I can
Yeah,
go with you on that. I can see your point.
yeah,
This look, whenever they were going to touch on a war, that was always going to be a controversial situation.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad that they did because we got lots of very intriguing episodes and interesting episodes.
I think they did it really well. They didn't just play on the combat side. They played on
I
what.
mean, it would have been very easy to just do like a war movie.
Oh
Oh my
yeah,
God, look at all these heroic soldiers
yeah.
fighting against
You
evil. But
could
they
have.
didn't do that, which was
They
much
played
better.
on the individual, how they survived and how they
How they
got.
were affected, how
Yeah,
many people died, the
and I
complexities of
think
organizing war, like those sorts of things.
they did a similar thing with Cisco and being the emissary, and I think again I know we're talking about the reckoning, but I think the reckoning is the one where the culmination of everything that had come before and everything that was going to come, I think the reckoning was the culmination of everything that they'd been trying to tell about the religious side of Bajor.
Yeah.
I think in the reckoning, if that
Well, yeah.
all the players made their stands finally aware to everybody.
Yeah.
Because Cisco finally made a decision that this is who I am. All right, fine. Wynn finally, in all honesty, made her decision that the prophets is not her. It's not her salvation. Is no longer her direction. She's going to go in a different direction. Kira, her faith had become stronger than ever, beyond anything I think even she could have believed that was going to come. And Jake finally, after 6 seasons, finally
understands what his dad is going through.
It's only taken 6
I
seasons
think it's
to get there.
See, I would say Cisco accepted being the emissary in that episode where there was another emissary believed to come. I think that was a huge turning point. I think this is the point where he realizes it's more than just a saying, he's got to enact it. And I think him being willing to possibly let Jake die is that enacting of him actually doing what being the emissary is, instead of just, oh, I guess I'll be this celebrity to all these Bajoran people. He gets the repercussions of that decision. And I think Kai Wynn still believes in the prophets. She's just doesn't believe in what their actual thing is. Because when she's being coerced because she so truly wants to believe in the prophets. It's just that it's not actually the prophets, because she doesn't actually read what the prophets actually want. And she's not going, I'm outwardly going to look for the Parraves. She's going, I want to help the prophets. Oh, I guess this evil thing must be what the prophets want because it's what I want. And you're like,
I kind of believe that she's given up completely. And I kind of disagree a little bit with you on that one where the two emissaries, I think, in that one, you can't be 100% certain that Cisco finally came to terms with being the emissary, or he just
fought for it. He fought for it.
Yeah,
he went, it would be worse for these people to be like this, so I'm going to do it instead. He took responsibility.
That's not because of who he is and because he's a Starfleet officer.
Yeah, but that's still him accepting being the emissary. It just he hadn't accepted the consequences of that action.
If that had meant that he had to, the only way to save everybody was for him to walk away from being the emissary, he would have done that because that was him, his personality, and him being a Starfleet officer.
Absolutely.
Just because it worked out that he got the emissary back doesn't necessarily tell us that he'd come to terms with being the emissary yet.
But I think that was what the whole point of the episode was. That's what they were outwardly saying in the episode. They actively said Cisco is now accepting that he's the emissary. He doesn't accept that all the things that come with that, as in,
yeah, but see,
being all this religious leader. But in that episode, he literally says he is the emissary now, and he fights for it. That is him accepting that role. That is him accepting being called that. That is like, okay, go watch the episode again, because media literacy.
In the reckoning, because he is willing to give up his son, you finally see that he is giving himself over 100% to the...
Yes, you see that he's actually finally accepted his actual role. But it isn't accepting that he is the emissary, because he had fully accepted that he was the emissary before this point. That's how he has those conversations with Kai Wynn. That's how he already knows what's going on, because he's already accepted that this is the situation.
I don't see it that way. That's where you and I are going to differ.
You got to watch those episodes again. I promise you. Okay?
I'm gonna deliberately differ. Because it's me being, I'm gonna deliberately differ on that.
It means you got to go watch Deep Space Nine again, because I think it's quite obvious. Quite obvious.
I just like the basic of being on the opposite side to you on this one.
Oh, okay,
right. But I think The Reckoning is a good episode. I think out of all the ones that they touch on, I think The Reckoning finally brings all the parts, all the bits and pieces, and you really do see everybody for who they really are. I mean, the only one you don't see in The Reckoning is Gul Dukat. I get that. You don't see him yet, because he's off in La La Land at the moment, having another Cardassian nervous breakdown.
He's about to make a cult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We haven't got to that one yet. So he's had a complete and utter nervous breakdown. And we don't see him for a little while
Until he joins. It's very, very strange.
But yeah, I think we see everybody position themselves for what is to come. We may not know it yet, but I think it's at this point where they've all positioned themselves. This is that turning point where everybody has now turned down a road and they cannot turn away from it. There's no coming back now.
Yeah. See, I don't really like this episode.
You don't like it?
No, because I think this is the start of the end on multiple levels for me as a Deep Space Nine enjoyer. But the thing about where we mainly differ between Deep Space Nine, we both like it, except I love the first seasons and you love the last seasons. I have huge issues with the last season. And so this is the beginning of the end because it's the beginning of where the writing starts to go down the toilet. And
Well,
it sends me every single time because as soon as this episode starts, I can tell that the rest of this is just going to be absolute bonkers. This is the start of Jadzia dying. This is the start of Sisko now apparently being a prophet and us finding his previous wife who isn't a wife and then him going crazy in sands. And I'm like, why does any of this exist? The first few seasons were so nuanced and interesting and the characters were...
Yeah, but see...
and he was just a normal person. And now it's like, oh, he's not actually a normal person. He's this god, and we forgot that Benny exists. Like
this only reinforces what I said, that the whole religious side or the prophet side is actually the main story. Because now we do a 180 and we start talking about this stuff more.
I know, but it's completely different to how we talked about it in the first few seasons. It's not like that interesting or nuanced. It's just this is bad and this is good, and I get pissed off at it every single time because I'm like, I thought you were an interesting organized religion. You had hundreds of different sects and different ways of thinking about things, but no, every single Bajoran person suddenly believes this now, and I'm like, what?
I just think it reinforces my argument that that there are two plots. There's a backstory or a back plot, and the primary plot. And I think you believe the primary plot is one way, and I believe the primary plot is the other way.
Yeah, we're having different experiences watching Deep Space Nine.
I don't think we're ever going to come to terms on this one. I think this is...
No, but that's what makes it fun.
I know, I'm not disputing that. And I've had this at other meetings of the club. I've said this, and other people go, "Yeah, you're talking a whole lot of crap." And look, it may be.
It's only fun that way, though. It would be so boring if we didn't get to have these conversations.
Why Star Trek is so great, because, as I said before, you can have 10 people in the room watching the same episode, and you can come up with
every single person will see something different. I know.
You come up with 20 different versions, but you've only got 10 people in the room.
Yeah.
You will come up with multiple different ways.
It'll be 30 if I'm...
Well, yeah, just 30 for yourself. I'm still going with the 20 with what we're doing, but 30. But that's what Star Trek allows. I mean, and I'm not looking to start an argument with any of the other sci-fi franchises, but I see most of the other sci-fi franchises either going two ways. One is that they're very two-dimensional, so there's nothing there. The other one is that they end up going in a direction that becomes so complicated and so weird that
Star Trek, Star Wars. Sorry, I'm a Star Wars lover. Okay, but seriously, that feels like what a lot of the modern shows are now becoming.
I love the first three, the original three that came out in the 70s.
So do I. Those are my favorite.
I have to admit, I do love watching the Rebels, the animated series. I find
I love that you love Rebels. I love Rebels too. I love all the animated.
Yeah, but you love them for completely different reasons.
Well, completely different reasons, I know, but that's just how we are. We're finding out, I think.
I'm talking about, and I'm not trying to start arguments, but I find that the newer version of Battlestar Galactica just takes a weird turn, and it just gets a bit lost in its.
I've never watched that either. I'm
Yeah,
bad on my sci-fi.
it for me. I my wife and I started watching Farscape, and we found Farscape great until it took a complete left turn and went off in a, I don't know where
See,
it.
that's me with these last few seasons of Deep Space Nine. I'm like, I'm really enjoying this, and then I get to the last season, and I'm like, why am I watching?
Yeah, but
And I go back and watch the first season again.
for Star Trek and for DS9, yeah, they kind of take a bit of a bend, but they don't do a completely left turn. I mean, it's
I
still.
feel like they did. They lost the plot. I can tell the
But
moment it happened.
you still can actually, you can sit down and watch and make sense of the episodes.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
A lot of science fictions, they try to either put philosophy into it where philosophy shouldn't be, or they try and.
It should be everywhere.
Yeah, but you've got to
No,
have
it's usually
very
because
good
it's uninteresting philosophy. Philosophy is just everything. It's words for things you already know and understand.
yeah, but you've got to have very good writers to do that. If you're going to
I
have.
mean, that's what writing is philosophy. I don't know what to tell you, Wayne. Everything is philosophy. That's
Yeah,
what
but I mean,
philosophy
I'm
is.
talking
It's all
about
philosophy.
when you're starting to talk about in certain science fiction where, you know, this existence is all of the. Sorry, it's a science fantasy, and I mean, apart from I see Star Trek as science fiction, and most of the others are science fantasy. It is a science fantasy. We're meant to be sitting there watching it for an hour, having fun, getting lost in the adventure, and when you start trying to work out whose existence is whose and what.
Oh, you mean metaphysical. You don't like when they get metaphysical.
I don't like it when they just take a left turn. I mean, let's get real.
Metaphysical, yeah, philosophical questions of mind and body, which they like to do a lot. But I think as well there's a misunderstanding between, personally, between, modern, how we understand science and the way that actual scientists and philosophical people treat the natural world. Because like I watched Interstellar and I loved it because it takes this idea that things we don't understand look like magic. And so
I haven't
which is
actually
what
watched it yet. Sorry.
oh, okay, without too many spoilers,
No,
it has
it's
a lot
fine.
of it's a very realistic, I think, one of the most realistic sci-fi stories because space doesn't give a shit about your feelings. Space is going to do what it's going to
What
do,
did I
and it's going to
just say
exist
at the
outside of
beginning
your
of this?
understanding. And so it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. But when people give critiques of it, they're like, "Oh, it's like fantasy," and I'm like, "Did you skip interesting science class? Do you not understand like the totality of human existence? We're tiny, like an ant. We are nothing in the universe." Like that's
Well,
what
they actually
Interstellar does
say the black hole scene is supposed to be the closest thing they've ever done that actually would
to
be
a
how a black hole
realistic black
would
hole. I
be. Yeah.
know. It's
Um,
hugely scientific, but people still call it this like weird fantasy thing. And I'm like, what are you? I
well,
don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand.
I think it progressed into fantasy only because um they're using the term, and I know we've gone completely off
We're still kind of on track.
oh, we're nowhere near the same track anymore. I don't know
We're
where
just sitting on the side of it. We're sitting on the
we've
side of the
left
track
the
and we're having
alpha
lunch.
quadrant and we're in the delta quadrant now.
We are. We've gone. We're going to see
I
Voyager
think
fly
they
past.
most people call it a fantasy purely because they've gone back to the old, I think 50s and 60s concept where black holes are a tunnel across the universe. And most scientists today believe a black hole is just exactly that, a black hole. It's a vacuum cleaner of the universe.
Yeah. But then where's all that stuff going? It doesn't just stop existing.
Well, yeah, all right.
It's gotta exist
I'm not
still.
saying that.
Matter doesn't disappear. You can't destroy matter.
No, I know. Energy is matter, and matter is energy. You
And quantum mechanics. Oh,
Oh,
that's so much
let's
fun.
not get
We
into
should talk about that one time.
God, Struth. Look, I get it. I do get it. Scientists haven't got all the answers, but I think
It's so much fun though.
by them saying that the interstellar ship goes through the black hole and then ends up.
Well, they don't. That's not what happens in the movie.
Well, it looks like it.
They go on the event horizon, and he goes like into this cool timey-wimey spacey shit because time is only dependent on gravity, and it's really cool. But it goes through like this whole he's in like a space, but he's not really in a space. You should watch it. It's a really good movie. It's a very good movie.
You are.
Okay, anyway, The Reckoning.
Yeah, and somehow are we going to go back to the Alpha Quadrant? We're just going to keep going.
No, we're talking about sci-fi. Star Trek is philosophy in space. I think that's why it was so refreshing. Especially
well,
even
you
like
can't say the
universe.
original series was philosophy in space.
It is. It is. Every
something
single
better.
episode is about a political question. It's about America. It's about politics. It's about, nationalism. It's about personhood.
Oh,
It's
you're
about
really starting to dig these episodes apart. All right.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
no. I
like
just watched
digging
the
the
episodes.
episodes
They are
apart, but
very, very clearly like this. They're about class divide. They're about the loss of resources between different classes. They are incredibly, blatantly political. I don't know how anyone watched the episodes of TOS and didn't see that they were political because it is incredibly blatant.
I just watched it, and once I saw the dog with the horn on it, I kind of gave up thinking it was.
Yeah, that's because the 60s that's camp, but
So you've got a. I don't even know what breed of dog, and then you decide we've got to make it look alien, so we're just going to stick a horn on it.
Exactly, but they still said the rich people live in the sky and have art, and the
Oh,
poor
look,
people mine our minds.
I just can't get
it's like
past.
it's
Can't get past the dog with the horn on it.
Spock has funky alien ears, but like he says interesting things.
I still can't get past the dog with the horn.
It's very good. I love that dog.
The I think the dog was actually more famous for a while than anything else.
Probably.
There was a lot of argument about like years ago about they abused the dog because they stuck a horn on it. And
really?
I had to go
that
back.
That dog looks so happy.
I had to go back and find out how they actually stuck the horn on to save themselves, because
it's got fur all over it as well, like bright pink fur.
Yeah, you can just see a group of guys going, "We've got to make an alien. What are we going to do?
We need an alien.
Hey,
Sulu needs to hold an alien. Come on, guys.
Come here, Jeff. That's it. Come running in here. You got to pick him. Quick, grab.
Who brought their dog to work today?
We're going to stick a horn on the. But that's not an alien. We were told to make an alien. They didn't say
it's close enough. It's close enough.
For the aliens who were Woodstock dropouts. I mean, I get it. It followed the social aspect of the period. I get that. I'm not disputing that, but you've got to admit that even for the 60s, some of those episodes were a little bit on the out there side.
No, they're all whack. That's what Star Trek is. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. Everything is crazy.
I love it because I grew up on
but
the original series back in the 70s. Yes,
I can enjoy it the most. I think it's one of the best ones because it does not take itself too seriously. It says, I've got something interesting to say and I'm politically motivated, but I'm not going to get too serious about it. We're having fun. Spock gets hit by a giant foam rock, which clearly looks like a giant foam rock. It's hilarious.
I just love. I love
fun.
I love the. I wanted a rematch of the Gorn and Kirk. I really wanted a rematch.
I love that too. I think the Gorn have been severely mistreated by Strange New Worlds.
I'm actually
that episode outwardly goes, "This is the Gorn captain. They're smart and intelligent, but they wanted to hurt us, and so we had to hurt them back." See, interesting political message. And this other creature goes, "You know what? We're going to force you to fight in arm-to-arm combat." And Kirk the entire time is going, "I don't want to kill this guy because he's an intelligent captain on his own ship, and I don't want to kill him." But these guys are like, "We're forcing you to kill him." And at the end of the episode, he doesn't even kill him. He calls up the people and he's like, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to kill this intelligent captain." And then Strange New World was like, "No, they're evil alien monsters." And I'm like, Strange New World.
Oh, do not.
What was the point?
Do not get me started on the Gorn in Strange. I love Strange New Worlds. Don't get me wrong, everybody.
So do I. But the Gorn, why did they do this? You could have just made a whole new creature. Why did you make the Gorn like this? You ruined so much canon that was already set up.
None of that works for me. And we can do a podcast on that maybe next time.
We should. Yeah.
But that doesn't. I had nothing to do one night when I couldn't sleep, and I basically researched the Gorn and lizards, and I have an entire mountain of information that
Oh no, they just wanted to make the freaking xenomorph again, and so they went, "This is the xenomorph now," and you go,
so now
"It's
we're
a
doing
lizard."
aliens. Okay, that's fine. No,
Uh,
I'm a traditionalist Gorn. I'm the official president of Bring Back the Original Gorn. Uh,
okay, great. We're on the same team for
yeah,
once.
it's yeah.
We'll have protests. Bring back the Gorn.
It's just crap what they did to the. I don't even know what they did.
They should have just made a new alien. It would have been so
Oh,
easy to, like, come
I
on.
know, I
It's
know.
just lazy. Oh, we'll
They
use
could
that
have
one
done
from the
if they
original series
really
episode. I'm like, guys,
if they really wanted to do a lizard, they could have done a whole nother species and leave the Gorn alone. I mean,
yeah,
I
they
don't
should have
get.
left the Gorn alone. Okay, we deserve some interesting Gorn stuff, but now we're never going to get it because
No, we
everyone's only
can't
going to
because
think of the Gorn
they can't
as
ever go
those
back from
guys.
that.
I know they're going to have to retcon the entirety of Strange New Worlds if they want to do that, and they're
Yeah,
not going
and
to
they're
do
not
that.
going to do
So
that. They're not going to. So they've basically forever, in Trek future, they've wrecked ever bringing the Gorn back because
I know
you can't do it.
they can't. I know. I'm pissed off about it.
You can't even make and which is a really, and this part, and I know we're right off topic, everybody, but we went off
We're
topic.
talking about Star Trek still. This is good. We're
We
still on
went off
Star Trek.
topic about 2 minutes into the actual podcast.
We really.
And this is a normal chat with us when we have a meeting. We don't stay on topic very long.
We tried to stay on topic.
I did a lot of research, and the funniest thing is during
Mm.
the Dominion War, the Gorn
I
actually
know the Gorn
weapon.
were allied with the Federation. I know.
They technically weren't allied, but they used to give us intelligence and weapons.
Yep.
So what Strange New Worlds has done is blown that because you can't walk back from that.
I know. I don't. Oh,
Can't walk back from what they've done in. So canon now is gone, completely gone. So when the Dominion War happens in the 24th century, we don't have the Gorn, which is going to change the entire outcome of the war.
I know. That's just, it was just an interesting decision that the writers
They
made.
wanted to bring the Gorn back because it was that episode was a very popular episode for fans. It is what.
Yes, but I think they misunderstood why it was popular. It wasn't popular because it was Alien Part 2.
Look, even
It's popular
Alien
because
was
Kirk
more,
barely wore a shirt the entire episode. I mean, what?
even Alien wasn't as gross as what they made out that one to be. It's just,
Oh, no.
and look, we should do a podcast on this because we seem to be.
No, because you know what would happen? I would railroad it with my opinions about Spock, and you don't want that because I have an X. I have an Excel file of all the episodes of TOS with Spock characterizations and why Strange New World messed them up. So,
but why would you railroad it with Spock if we're talking about the Gorn?
because Spock has that moment. Oh, you probably haven't seen it. Spock has a moment where he has to like go all ape shit to like scare away the Gorn, and I'm like, he would never do that. What are you talking about? That's absolutely
I don't mind that as long as we get 5 minutes of Gorn into the episode.
We'll get a little bit of Gorn.
I don't mind it, if we can get 5 minutes of Gorn, I'd be happy with that.
No, I get too emotional. I've barred myself from talking about it because it makes me upset. But
I think that's what everybody really wants is you to get upset.
yeah,
really. I think
I think they want me to shut up is what they want, Wade.
No, they usually tell me that. They tell me to shut up. Look, I think we've beaten the reckoning as best we can without actually saying a lot.
I know. Well, we talked about Kai Wynn. That was good.
Yeah, I know. But in your opinion, let's go. Is it a good episode?
No.
What would you rate it out of 10?
Out of 10, 6.
Ooh, ugly.
Yeah.
Would you do you believe that was an important episode in the story arc?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that contradicts your first one.
No, I think it's a bad episode, but I think it's important to the bad storyline they were writing.
This is what we got to put up with Annabelle.
Yeah, it was it was okay, look, there are much worse episodes in Star Trek, is the thing. I just don't particularly enjoy this one. It's not that it's particularly a bad episode or that there's things there. I mean, there are things I don't like about it, but I did not enjoy it, and I did not enjoy the direction that it took the series as a whole. And so I don't like it. But that doesn't mean that overall, like, it's the worst episode, the whole last series. It's just something I don't personally enjoy in Star Trek. I would much rather watch a funny episode about the Ferengi than watch this episode.
Okay, so for me, I think I like the episode. I really do. I like this.
What would you rate it?
I would actually rate it 8.5, to be truthfully honest.
Nice. Well, okay, up there.
Look, there are some bits that
I like that we disagree so much.
look, it's
It's
not
interesting.
there are some bits. I do agree with you on some level, on a few levels, where certain things were a little bit oh my God, did they actually do that?
I know. Yeah.
But I, as an overall episode, I think it's actually a good episode. Do I think it was good for the story arc? Yes. I actually think this is one of those, for me, and as I've said before, I think this is what Star Trek's really good about, is because you can it can mean a lot of things for a lot of different people. But for me, this is one of those pivotal episodes for what was coming. And I know you have issues with what's coming, but for me,
I know. No, I agree. That's a pivotal episode. I just don't like the rest of it.
I think it's one of those really. I think if they didn't do Reckoning, I think what's coming would have been lacking. It kind of would have appeared, and everybody going, "What the?"
It would have appeared out of nowhere. Everyone would have been very confused. This was the setup to the punchline.
I think they needed. I think they could have made it a little bit better in certain areas, but I think this was.
It's well acted. The dialogue's nice. It's shot good. I mean, it's the end of Deep Space Nine. It's all good. I just don't like the writing. I don't like the direction this plot is being taken.
I think this one, you needed this episode in order to get to put us on the road where we had to be.
To put us on the road where they're fighting in the fiery pits of hell. And
because the next couple of ones that come up about this, especially when Golden Cup comes in, that would have never made sense of where I mean, we all knew Wynn was power hungry, but without this, we wouldn't have understood why Wynn took a right turn and decided to go against the Prophets. You needed this episode to do that, I think.
Yeah.
Again, that comes down to how you interpret the episode. And I know, but you and I have different interpretations of this episode, and I think that's
fun.
I think that's a good thing, because
there
is a lot going on in that episode. Like, I watched this one a couple of weeks ago, and I watched it this morning, and I saw different things in it that I didn't see the first time. Things that are that I think pushes me to think other things within the episode. So there are probably multiple more things that are in that episode that I haven't seen, that would again make me rethink a lot of different things. And I think in DS9 especially, and again with Reckoning is one of them, but I think in DS9 there's a lot of these episodes which are kind of watershed episodes. You've got to have them for the rest of the plot to make any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a couple of them scattered throughout the whole 7 series.
It's because they have the through plot, and so they have to set up the through plot. If you
pulled them out, you'd be
very confused and lost. Where are we? What are we doing?
You'd have that a very sour lolly taste on your face. And I'm making a very weird face, and I know no one can see it, but
no one can see it.
It's a
terrible face, I promise you.
Yeah, it is a terrible face.
No, it's not.
You have to have them, and I think, and I kind of got this concept from watching Reckoning. I went back and started looking at some of the episodes, and you do have these watershed episodes that are needed. And I think
Yeah.
DS9, because you have that original, that kind of story arc that's running through the whole series, you have to have these ones where they can do all this information in one episode and tell you what's going on, and then it's subconsciously you don't know it's happening until you actually get to, oh, hang on, I know when that
Oh
happened.
wait,
And that
the
started.
thing we were already given, it's coming back up again.
Yeah, it's that kind of, and that's, yeah, I think there's multiple of these episodes, and I think I didn't notice that until I watched Reckoning again today.
It's one of the best parts of Deep Space Nine, I think, that they have these interesting setup episodes.
Yeah,
Like, even you could say that Reckoning was pre-set up because of the whole Bahala incident that happened before.
yeah. Again,
That comes back again. Like,
I would consider that to be one of the watershed episodes again.
yeah, exactly.
You and again, and I know you disagree with this, but again, every one of the watershed episodes has got to do with Bajor and
The
religion.
prophets.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always got to do. It's not got to do with the war. It's always got.
No, I'm not upset about this. I'm just upset the way they took it.
No, that's fine. I just find that I see DS9 now, after watching it again, in a completely different light than what I saw the very last time I watched the whole series. And I would
Yeah.
guarantee that watching it again in a year or something, I will change my opinion again, because it's just,
Yeah. Well, that's what's so much fun, isn't it? You get to reinterpret things based on your own experiences and learning new things and watching them again and going, oh,
yeah.
I didn't notice that the first time.
I also think it's got a lot to do with what the Star Trek that's on at the moment. They're trying, not so much in Discovery because they're so far into the future.
Yeah.
But I've got so many issues with that, but we're not going there. With Strange New Worlds, even with in an odd, weird way with Lower Deck, they still talk bits and pieces and engage about the Dominion War and DS9, or
Yeah.
overlap kind of things. So when you hear these things, and then when you watch DS9 again, you see things in a different point of view. And I think for some reason, probably because it's got the story arc hidden away inside it, it shows more. It becomes, there's something different about DS9, and I know that's very obvious because it is a completely different series, but there's something.
It's okay. I'm going to make a point. I think it's the most radical. I think it's the one that keeps the most close ties to what Star Trek was originally supposed to be.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion, it's
radical.
fun. It's silly.
Radical.
We can talk about Cisco being a black man at the very beginning of here, how half the characters are women, how there's interesting plots where all that kind of stuff happens. I think it's the first Star Trek that really said, we're actually going to handle these topics instead of skirting around them, which is what a lot of Next Gen does. And so I really don't like it because they have outwardly homophobic episodes and outwardly racist episodes. And I go, I can't watch Next Gen fully because there never seems to be this continuous through plot. And I feel like Deep Space Nine continues the radical Star Trek that TOS, I mean, it was the 50s, but what it was trying to be.
It's got a lot of very strong women in it.
Yeah. Which is why I hate these last seasons, because they decide to stop that. And they go, actually, these women are only as important as the men that they're in love with. And now they're weak and docile. And I go, what?
See, I don't see that, but I'm very scared to say anything about that now.
No, I want you to say stuff. Otherwise,
No,
it's an interesting conversation. We got to end this. We'll do this next time.
I don't see that, because in the episode where Kira takes on the Romulans in a sort of a showdown, when she's only got Bajor and sublight crafts, and she basically stares down.
Okay, but in the first season, when she is with her other partners, she is still headstrong and smart and still capable of telling them what she needs and how she
I still
exists
think
in her
she
environment.
is.
When she is with Odo in the last season, she is docile to him, she is subservient to him, and I really hate it every time I watch it. And there's a few episodes like The Reckoning where there are very good moments between Odo and Kira that I do appreciate, but a lot of the time it feels like they decided to go some sort of really weird, oh, Odo's been interested in her the entire time and now she's suddenly interested. I mean, I can see why people like it. I understand why people like it. It just personally makes me a bit uncomfortable because I think I read too much into how women are treated in media, but that's a whole other conversation.
But I don't.
But it is an interesting sort of thing that I feel like they were planning that the entire time. It was sort of like set up in the first
Oh
seasons and then
yeah,
sort of like called
I
through.
see it.
It's just I dislike the way that they started to write Kira, which is my, it's my own issue. It's just something
See,
I
I
tend to
don't
pour
see it
attention
that
to.
way. I see it as you got to remember, Kira has been fighting, blowing, killing people since she
And
was.
she still is.
Yeah,
It's a part of her pivotal
no.
personality.
I agree with that. But she's been killing since she was what, 12?
Yeah,
I think.
I know.
I will stand corrected on that age because I'm not. I honestly can't remember, but
I think even before that, because she was very young
possible. But
when
she's
she
been
watched her
killing
father die and she decided to join that
since she was
team, and then her
12
dad
years
died when she
old.
was really young.
Now she's had no childhood at all. No, and I'm not meaning this to be any other thing than me
Yeah,
trying.
well, neither has Odo. Sorry, I'm just
But
saying.
she's had no affection. She's had no intimacy with anybody. She's had no love. All she's ever known is her fellow resistance fighters, and all she's ever known is apart from the fact I reckon Kira could kill somebody in about 100 different ways.
100%.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, Odo shows her that she can't be soft, but she also
I know, but this is what I
can be.
disagree about because we get that whole character arc with Brile in the second season. We already get her learning to be soft. That's what happens when in her faith.
Yeah,
That's
and
why her
then
faith is
as
so
soon as he
important to her
dies,
because that is her soft side.
her whole
Yeah, it goes
thing went
down
up
again,
again.
but then she gets a whole other relationship.
Her
Like they're
barrier
always
went
pushing
up.
character into relationships.
She didn't
It
want.
just feels like instead of her getting to be herself in those relationships with Odo, it feels as if it's some kind of pandering to me personally.
See,
It's a difficult thing for me to see. Even in this episode, afterwards, she like walks over to him and sits on the edge of the table and is like, "Oh, if only they knew the real you, Odo. You're like a kind soul." And I'm like, Kira would never freaking say that. She'd walk over and be like, "Oh no, that was a bit weird that you were like that." And he'd be like, "Oh, it's what I like, I am." And she'd be like, "Haha, yeah," and then walk out. But
well,
instead
then,
of being that, she's subservient to him and his beliefs, and she has to always be dependent on his needs, and it pisses me off.
then me telling you I'm a real romantic and I always believe in the knight in shining armor is going to.
I am a romantic too. Don't
I
even
have
talk
trouble
to me.
believing
But
that.
I have issues with women being treated in media. Okay.
You have issues. I'm not denying that.
Especially in Star Trek because of one Mr. Rick Berman. But that could be a whole. I have so many bits of papers that I feel like I should show you
I
relating to that. But like,
I don't see
it
what
comes
you're
through in the
saying.
writing.
I do not see. I see a person who's Kira who has basically grown and developed into a whole person and not just.
Yeah, but my thing is that she's not like that around anybody else. If she had grown into a full person, that would happen in other situations.
Well,
but it only happens when
are
she's
you
with Odo.
like, and this is probably I may have actually stepped into a minefield here.
No, don't step it. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
Like,
Let's talk about something else.
Do you like this around everybody? Do you
Probably.
Do you actually keep a facade up occasionally with around other people? I mean,
all the time.
Everyone.
I don't. I mean, yes, but I think the thing about television is that it's not just what's happening in the story. It's it shows up around. It's what we see in media affects what happens in real life, and what happens in real life affects what we see in media. And so when these sorts of relationships are treated like this, I feel like men especially men who might relate to an outcast like Odo, will then feel that when they have a girlfriend, they have to be beautiful and perfect and always rely on them. And so Kira being treated like this, even though she is a strong-willed person, not being strong-willed in her relationship with Odo, then sets this weird precedent that men will like strong-willed women as long as they are not strong-willed with them. And I'm like, I don't like
can you say
idea.
that 4 times backwards? I mean,
if I tried, we'd be here forever.
because I swear you got part of that incorrect. With you got some wins and wills in it.
Oh, I 100% did. I'm not good at speaking. I tried.
I'm not trying to get the levity away, but it just, sorry, it just sounded.
You know what I'm saying. You know what I mean.
The seashell.
You know what I
by the
mean.
seashore kind of thing. I get you. In TOS, they missed a lot of.
It's terrible. Sorry.
I'm not disputing that, and I don't think you're going to find a Star Trek fan who would disagree with you.
I have found many.
Oh well, okay.
Sorry. Even in incredibly blatant circumstances.
All right, but I get it.
You know.
I do get it that there was a lot of missed opportunities. And I'm not trying to condone or whatever, but I think in Star Trek, unfortunately, even when they brought it out in the 80s and 90s, they were still playing around with that perception.
Don't get me started in TOS. They were like, we're going to put some women here, but they're going to be the most stereotyped women you've ever seen in your entire life. And you're like, okay. And one of them's going to be incredibly homophobic in one episode. And you're like, okay, why are we here?
Became in the movies. I mean, she became very strong in the movies.
That, though, had to be fought for with an iron fist. And I am giving every kudos to Nichelle Nichols, because she had to fight to wear her actual hair, and they still put her in a relationship with Scotty. And I'm like, okay, I don't know where you pulled this out your ass for.
I think that was good. The two of them were, I think, very.
They just couldn't imagine a woman without her being in a relationship. That's who it was.
And I'm
no one else has to be in a relationship. But you know what? The one woman has to be in a relationship, because women can't exist without being subservient to a man around them. Great.
There it went. I tried to pull it up before we got there, but we got there.
Sorry, I'm sorry. The end of it, we'll just rage. I'll get in a rager.
I'm going to pull it up. I think we've bashed Reckoning, Star Trek.
I've bashed my head against the wall enough. That's right.
And the 80s, all by enough. And I want to make certain that YouTube doesn't pull us down.
I'm so sorry.
No,
they shouldn't.
No, that's fine. We have, look, everybody, this is how some of these talks get when we're all together. They get interesting. Look.
I'm not going to be quiet about it, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is truthful.
If we're talking about Star Trek, I got to bring it up, okay?
Annabelle will not be quiet. No, I didn't say that.
Hey.
What?
I'm quiet sometimes.
Okay. All right. Look,
you can't think of a time now, can you?
I think. I'm not even certain.
It's a good episode. We're wrapping it all up. Everyone should go watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Anything actually across by anything. But look, if I will put in the bottom of the descriptions the club's email if you want to learn anything more about the club, and about how we I'm not certain what to call these. How we have meetings.
Yeah, some weird discussions.
Sometimes we do lock Annabelle out of the meeting.
I think they should, honestly.
But yeah, if you want some more information, by all means, we'll hopefully do another one of these. I don't know what topic, because
something safer. We'll do something safe.
Is there such a thing? Is there really such a thing?
If there is such a thing.
I don't think there is.
There probably isn't.
I don't even think we could do one on the animated series, because
there's an episode where Uhura kicks ass in the animated series. We could just watch that episode.
And she takes over and becomes commanding officer of the Enterprise in it.
I know, it's great.
It was one of the questions in the trivia.
It
Um,
really was.
I
Did you
know.
know they only say "Beam me up, Scotty" once, and it's in the animated series? So maybe we should watch that episode.
Oh, see, I didn't know they did.
Oh,
Supposedly they never say it ever.
they never say it in TOS. They say it once in the animated series.
Oh, okay. Maybe they'll
Yeah,
swap.
I know.
All right. From me, the red shirt captain, and
A
from
very tired captain, a captain who's tired of my shit.
no, um, I just I've got to slow her down somewhere. I know. And
Take a
from
deep breath.
Annabelle, our chief of security.
A very bad chief of security. I'm trying to keep you all protected, nice and safe.
Yeah, she'll lock us. She'll lock everybody in their
I'll
room.
lock you all in your rooms. It'll
Yeah.
be a
Um,
lockdown.
we hope you get something out of this. I don't know what something is.
I hope you got your dishes done or something.
Yeah, and we if we're game enough, we'll do another one.
If we came enough. That's the real question.
Yeah. So from the captain, goodbye. From
From your security officer, Diphthora Susma, live long and prosper.
okay. With that, see you everyone.
Bye.